our personal Adobe link, but it'll be on YouTube. Yes, Mindy will upload it to YouTube. So this recording will be put on YouTube.
Follow our Pam Gallagher YouTube channel. We'll automatically get it. Or next week when I put out the official, we're open, we registering students.
So what Mindy's saying is, if you want to join, what, Mindy? Here, our microphone isn't, so it can't. Can you plug it in for me? I don't know what happened here. Hang on, let's get. Somewhere we have a USB. There it is. It got tripped. Okay. We unplugged and moved everything around. We've had quite a project this week. One of the students, graduates, came in, Beth. We're very grateful to her, from Alabama. She diligently worked a full week. Trust me, Duffy helped. Sue Anderson's one of our students. Hi, come in. Come on in, get a chair. You want to get it? Do we have a chair up here? Okay. All right. Peg, let her slide. Good. Hey, you're okay. You're good. So anyway, we've had a major, you have to understand that here at the school, this is Midwest School of Astrology, Pam Gallagher. Today is August 25th, 2024. We're going to do a quick little presentation. The school, we're the only brick and mortar astrology school in North America. It's a 500-hour, 3-year program, and we're certified with ESAR, the only certified organization in the country. We have a lot of students, and anybody that completes the 3 years is, is bona fide. They've paid their dues. So this last week, I have in the school, I have 7 or 8 bookcases, plus what I have at home and in the living room. So I have tons of astrology books, but I had my own, and I've got a lot of spiritual books and a lot of things I've done. But then we also have things that have been given to us. People have downsized their homes, they've retired, they've died. One man said his wife had one of the finest collections of astrology books next to mine I've ever seen. And last year, one of my friends, clients said, can I bring you, will you take these books? I said, sure. Well, 20 boxes later, I was pretty amazed. I was like, are you kidding me? So we have those. And then I said, well, I told him I'd take them, but I had no clue. And then Duffy's moved downsizing this year, so she had like 2 boxes. And then an astrologer, a famous astrologer, was retiring. And he called me and he said, can I bring you most of my books for your students? I'm like, sure. And he walked with 7 big boxes of books. I'm like, are you kidding me? So we found that we had some of these collector's editions, and we've got 3 and 4 and 5 copies of them. So Beth came up, and we have been searching, and she's been on, I guess she's 700 books in the last week. We have them for sale that we're going to put on Etsy. We have 2 bookcases full that I'm giving away. Anybody that's in the city or around, and you please look, we have them that are for beginners. We have them for advanced. We have technical books. So pick up a couple of books that are of interest to you. Huh? By the front door, it says free. Take them. There are some very simple ones. If we get done, I'll try to help you with. Linda says there's a lot of background noise. Yep. Does anybody have their microphone on? I don't think so. Let me see. Did that help? Linda, did that help with the background noise? Yes, there was one microphone open, so I turned it off. That should have helped. Okay, let's see what she said. Hang on. Hang on a minute. She said, yes, that helped. Okay. So we're recording. Here we go. So that's the school. And here we are. And this presentation we will put on YouTube so you can listen. We're going to talk about what's happening in the fall of 2024 for the world and for us. Keep in mind, astrology is a tool. It is not a psychic tool. It's an energy tool, and it's a pattern. It's a grid. The universe is a geometric grid. Earth is based on the square, the cube. The spiritual is the triangle. It's another world. So when you see the triangles, you're talking about the spiritual world. The squares and the grids are Earth. So there's a big difference in that. A chart is a snapshot of the solar system when you're born or when something happens. So, of course, here's the United States. Here is the US's chart. Now, this was July 4th, 1776. The official signing, when everybody was present, was at 5:10 p.m. So it's a unique, specific time, and so it has a chart. To have a chart, you have to have a date, a time, and a place. And we had that, 5:10 p.m., July 4th, 1776 in Philadelphia. Our country is a Cancer country. This says the sun is at 13 Cancer. Cancer is the sign of home and family and patriotism, and it's a big deal. So we are a Cancer country. We have an Aquarian moon. Aquarius is the sign of groups and socializing. And get her a chair. Is there a chair up here? Oh, well. You're okay. Okay. So we have the moon in Aquarius, which is very group and humanitarian and worldly. And so as a country, we, the people, are about the humanitarian effort. Okay. The moon in mundane astrology rules the people. The attitude of the masses, the people. Now, and I circled that for a reason. The rising sign over here at 9 o'clock on the clock dial says, how are we seen? We're seen as a Sagittarian, direct, outspoken, about growth and about international relationships. We're very much about international relationships as a country. Now, why did I put up the U.S. chart? Because in August, I did a YouTube, and you're welcome to go back and listen to it. But I circled the moon at 27 Aquarius because we had a full moon at 27 Aquarius. And so it was triggered. And the full moon was the night of the Democratic Convention. It was a full moon, which is emotional, and it hit the moon. And so it was a highly spirited, I'm sure, event because it was full moon. So that's the U.S. chart. Now, what's going on with the U.S. for all of us? Here's the chart again. Looks a little different, same chart. Sun's in a Cancer, Sagittarius is rising, the moon's still at 27 Aquarius. But there are some other things going on, which is you'd have to know more astrology to gather it. But we have some people here who are students or graduates, but then we have people that aren't. But Pluto is the planet of transformation, in-depth, and intensity. Pluto it's our most outer planet, and it's 248 years, and we are just completing the Pluto return of the U.S. And we've come through a major transformation and transition as a country. We're moving into a new phase. That's what that really says. So those of you who are, Neptune is a planet of dreams and spirituality and vision. And the moon, we had a moon return in the U.S. chart this year, changing our vision. So this is where we're going as a country. Now, for those of you who know astrology, I've progressed it, which a secondary progression is your growth in the chart. And so we have a new person here. She's thinking about having a natal chart. So whenever I do a natal chart, I also do a progress chart, which is where are you in your cycle? Well, where's the U.S. in their cycle? We're a Cancer country, but because it's been 250 years, basically. The sun is all the way by progression a degree a year in Pisces. The progressed moon is coming in 4 months to complete. Now that happens about every 30 years, but we're getting ready to have a complete new moon in Pisces. It's new vision over the next 3 to 4 months. We're going to set a new vision for this country. Now, what that means and which side of the fence you're sitting on is your choice, but I'm telling you that a progressed new moon in the chart is setting a new vision.
When does it hit?
4 months, less than 4. This is all September, October, November, December. Yeah. On the inauguration in January, we'll be having that progressed moon going in a new direction. So this Mars Saturn's interesting for those of you who are more advanced. Back 44 years ago in 1980, that progressed Mars hit Saturn, the presidential, the head of the country. So in 1980, there was a shift in attitude about our leadership as far as the country itself goes. 1980, if I'm not mistaken, that was Reagan, when Reagan got shot, but that whole shift. There's another story around that. Mindy, you get me some water. Now what's coming up, and this is not just for the country, this is for us. So in September, eclipses, what? We stirred up a lot of dust this week, and I'm having a lot of allergies, so I apologize. So, here we go.
Just take a minute. It's all good.
Okay, that'll help. We have eclipses twice a year. Eclipses are new moon or full moon that ties with the nodes of the moon and the cycle, and it creates a flat plate. And then we have an eclipse. Eclipses are much stronger than regular new moons or full moons. So twice a year, we have a new moon, we have eclipses. So the eclipse seasons everybody talks about, anybody that's watching. Our last ones were the end of March, 1st of April. The April 8th eclipse was very famous because it was visible in the United States. It was at 19 Aries, and the degree of the exalted sun, it was a very powerful eclipse. We've had a lot of energy change since April. If you look back, you can see it. So this is the lunar eclipse. It's coming up in September. Lunar eclipses don't always come first. They switch, depending upon what the nodes are. But this lunar eclipse is a 25 Pisces Virgo. So the Pisces Virgo people are going to be feeling this. It's completing. It feels like emotion. They're feeling called to complete. It's going to be particularly sensitive because Neptune rules Pisces and it's tied to this eclipse. We're seeing a lot of water. We're seeing a lot of rain, flooding. Neptune rules the seas and the water. I think we'll probably have a more active storm season because Neptune's so involved. So what started out, we might have thought was going to be a normal, Neptune water season is probably going to be more intense. If you have anything and you know your chart, Virgo Pisces, this full moon will be triggering you. You'll be more emotional. I always warn people if I'm looking at their chart, don't get hooked into the emotional drama of the full moon. So the other thing that's happening with this full moon, here is the nodal axis or the spiritual axis in the chart. Mars will be squaring it. Again, it may trigger anger. Pisces is emotion. And when Mars squares the nodes, if there's any buried anger, it may show up. If it does, just step aside and let it pass you. So, this came out of nowhere, or out of the past. So, here's the solar eclipse. What's the difference between a lunar eclipse and a solar eclipse? The lunar eclipse is by the moon. Full, emotional. The solar eclipse is when the sun and moon are together. New beginnings, new energy. 10 degrees of Libra. Mercury's with it. Good for communication. That's the biggest. This is a positive new. Solar eclipses bring new energy and they bring expansion. We have a grand trine, Venus, Mars, and Saturn in this. This is positive energy, and I'm glad to see it. Come October. Now, this solar eclipses seem to impact the world more. Lunar eclipses impact us emotionally. Moon. So the U.S., I had to do it because I'm like, what's coming? Everybody wants to know what's coming this fall. I mean, and I'm telling you, it does not tell us who's going to win the election. It tells what the tempo will be, the temperature is of the energy. However, this solar eclipse, which brings a whole new cycle, is going to be tied to Saturn in the 10th house. Now, the mundane rules or the worldly rules in the 10th house is government. Saturn would be the head of the country. So when we're looking at countries and we watch their chart as a country as opposed to an individual, Saturn would be he's either the king, the president, the prime minister, whoever's in charge. That's Saturn. This solar eclipse is on our Saturn in the US chart. Getting new leadership. I don't know, but whoever it is going to come in as Saturn, which means, what does that mean? They have to be strong, definite, rule setting. That's what they're going to have to do. To succeed, they're going to have to take a Saturn role in the chart. So we're going to sit back and watch. Mars is the warrior, and Mars has just gone over the sun. The few days before the election are going to get hot. They're going to get Mars, and they're going to get fight. People are going to fight. They're going to be Mars aggressive. You're like, wow, interesting. Huh?
Be a hermit.
Let's say what?
This is the eclipse.
This is the solar eclipse in October that triggers. See, that eclipse is setting up the energy for the election. I have a chart for the election, but most of you don't know what you're looking at anyway. Yeah,
And the solar eclipse Jupiter is on the U.S. Mars.
Yes, thank you.
It's a double whammy.
For the solar eclipse, Jupiter has a 12-year cycle. Jupiter is a planet of expansion, growth, learning, and transiting Jupiter has a 12-year cycle, moving slowly. It's in a sign for a year, and it will be conjunct Mars for the U.S. chart. Jupiter, Mars, expansion. So we're going for big, whatever that means. Now, the interesting thing, we go back to the first chart I showed you, is that the full moon in August, when the DNC opened, happened to have been on the U.S. moon, the people. So what I'm going to say in closing about this is that this is an election about the people. This isn't even about tradition or rules. This is going to be ruled by people's emotional reaction because the moon is everywhere. The moon is the trigger. So You just watch. It's going to get really heated and really emotional, but this election's going to be about the way the emotions are running with the people. It's not, it's not going to be, this one's not going to be done by the politicians. This one's going to be by the people because the moon is all over the place. So one thing I like to figure it and close with is a call to action. What do we need to do? What's our part in this? A solar eclipse in Libra. Libra is the sign of balance and harmony and fairness. So I want everybody to stand back and look at it and say, what will be the balance that we need as a country? Now, everybody's got a different opinion and everybody gets a vote. And that's the mood, is the people. But I'm telling you, the media and the politicians will not control this election. The people will, whatever that means. Do we have any questions in the room or comments before we finish? I must have stirred up something.
I'm still gonna go with Lilith in the first house.
Are we going to go with Lilith? Nah. Lilith is it's a point. It's a sensitive point, but it doesn't have the power. I will tell you something that's just occurred yesterday that I hadn't talked about. Ceres,
Okay.
huh?
What is Ceres?
Ceres is, well, it was an asteroid. It's now considered to be a microplanet. And it's considered to be food and harvest. Interesting, it's been retrograde, and I have the notes on my desk, but I want to say since last April. Ceres has been retrograde, and yesterday and today it went direct. When a planet changes direction, to be retrograde is to slow down. It's apparent backward motion. It's not real backward. Planets don't go backward, but they do slow down in relationship to everybody else. It's like if you were running a foot race, and you had to stop and tie your shoe, people passed you. So you went backward in the race position. You didn't go backward. So Ceres is just going direct.
So what is considered a micro planet? I'm assuming it's small.
A small, what is it? So let's do a quick history before. From 1000 BC to 1741, we had 7 planets: Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn. Now the Sun and Moon are really light. They consider them planets. 7 is a very spiritual number, a very high energy number. And so you got the 7 archangels, the 7 Elohim, the 7, everything. Then we got the telescope. We got new technology. And so then Uranus was discovered with the telescope. And then in the 1800s, Neptune was discovered with the telescope. And then Pluto in 1930. Uranus and Neptune and Pluto are considered higher active planets. But they're still planets because the definition is the rhythmic orbit, that's trackable. So the newest astronomy, International Astronomy Group, has redefined, God bless them, they've set new criteria. And so Ceres, Pallas, Vesta, and Juno are 4 asteroids. Between Mars and Jupiter, there are 100,000 rocks floating around out there. That's called the asteroid belt. There's 2 different thoughts about that. Was it a planet that got hit and exploded, or was it never formed as our solar system formed? That's the newest assumption. Of those 100,000 rocks, Ceres is the largest. So Ceres, Pallas, Vesta, and Juno were the 4 largest asteroids. They're considered feminine, not as heavy as planets because they're not as big. However, Pluto, because of 240 years out, is small. However, let me tell you, whatever they say, when you have a Pluto transit, it changes your life. You can see it, it's heavy. So, I don't know, back in the early 2000s, I guess they all met and decided that Pluto was because Ceres is larger, it's much closer to the Earth though, Ceres was upgraded to a microplanet. Pluto was downgraded to a microplanet. And now they found some other ones, which Beth did a great report on for her graduation, on other microplanets that are out there now. Microplanet is still planetary energy. It has certain criteria. It has certain orbits. However, it's not as large. So of them all, Ceres has been upgraded and Pluto's been downgraded. But let me tell you, when Pluto hits people's chart, life changes. I don't care what they call it. Yes.
So if you're comfortable, could we look at Kamala Harris's chart and her book? It's okay if you're not.
I will do one thing here. She asked if I would bring it up. I will bring up her chart with, this is a thing I did for the students.
Not to be controversial,
I
I
know.
just want to know what.
Here is Kamala Harris's energy for her chart. And she is a Libra. She was born right on a full moon, which is quite interesting. Full moon, maybe it's an emotional tie. And she has Gemini rising, which is the communicator. The progression, no, but I will tell you that the full moon on the day of the Democratic Convention was 2728 Aquarius, and that was her Saturn, and Saturn ruler. And she stepped up. But I said she would be forced to be a Saturn, hard, take charge, she couldn't come in soft. She had to come in as Saturn because the full moon hit Saturn, and that's what it called for in her chart. So she couldn't be, soft and accommodating. That wasn't going to work. You have 25 of Virgo Pisces, which she does not have, and you have 10 of Aries Libra, which she does. So the eclipses are not triggering her. However, the full moon on the day she accepted the nomination did hit Saturn. So that was very strong. So she is Libra, a peacekeeper by nature, and a communicator. That's who she is. I'm not going to get into all the candidates and their progressions and their transits tonight, but there is Camilla. So there you go. Kamala. How do you say it?
Kamala.
Okay.
Yes, Kamala.
Kamala, go ahead.
So, but I thought that you can't do a person's chart without knowing the exact date that they were born.
We do.
How do you know her rising? You have
Because they've got her birth. They've had her birth certificate forever. She's been in the system forever.
Okay, so you do know the time she was born, because that's the only way you'll find out her rising. Okay.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
This is the data that we have in all the systems. October 20th, 1964, 9:28 p.m. in Oakland, California. There's her chart. Now, that's according to, believe me, there are people who make a living at collecting data. That's what they do. And so she has been in our system for quite some time. Back when she was a senator, I think. So even before she became vice president, they were watching her chart, the astrologers, and commenting. I haven't looked, I have some looked at her progression, but I can tell you that the full moon that we had on the day, that impressed me, because here it was, the convention, and the full moon was that night, and it was right on her Saturn. And Saturn is the ruler, and that's who it is. So now, it wouldn't matter her birth time. And that's another point I want to say as we get off of here. You may not know somebody's birth time, but you have a lot of information. People say to me all the time, I don't know my birth time. I can't have my chart done. That's not true. You can't do the detail. You may not know the rising sign, but those planets have not moved more than a degree in a day. And so all their signs and their aspects are valid. And there's a lot of information. And so even with a progression or a transit, you'll know. So it's not as detailed, but when people say, oh, they'll call me and they'll say, I don't have my birth time. I can't have my chart done. I said, well, that's not, we can't do the fine print, but we can do all the capital and regular letters. We can do those. So if you're wanting to know more about your chart, take note that You may not have the birth time. When we don't have a birth time, I usually run it for noon because you cut the time in half. The sun only moves a degree a day, so it's half a degree difference. The only planet that the moon moves between 12 and 15 degrees a day. And so I run it for noon, and I'm only 6 degrees one way or the other. I got a pretty good idea what sign it's in, unless they're right on the cusp, and then that's, then I have to figure out how they were as a child, and you'll know. So that's cutting it short, but that is her time, according to the experts, but they've had it for a long time. Let's see here. So let's see. What? So we do start school this year on September 9th, just so that you know. It will be on Monday nights for the next 3 years. Once we start, you commit to a night, that's your night, for 3 years. It's 3 hours a night, once a week. We record whether you're in-house or online. And if you miss a week and you vacate, you're ungone, then you listen, So it's not like, oh, I missed it. I'm usually online before class if you have questions. Mindy will be taking registrations here in the next week. We got Elaine Kane. Other people have popped in here. Gretchen, hello. We have graduates online. I like that. When they come in and listen. What's the other thing you want me to tell them? We're starting registrations for level 1. And any of you that are around and want to come in, I have separated out my books, and I'm giving 2 students some pretty heavy duty books, and some are even out of print and hard to get, and good ones, written by, the old time heady astrologers, as I call them, not some of the newbies. So good information. Our call to action is to try to stay balanced and try to stay objective with Libra and with the eclipse in Libra, and try to make some fair and balanced decisions over this time period. Interesting. I have family who's, they're pretty radical. And they call me, they said, we're all going to get together, but not until after the election. Because I won't go if they're going to talk about it. We have one rule in the school. We only have one rule in the school. You can come and go and do as you please. We have one rule. We do not discuss politics in this place. This is a spiritual school. This is a community setting, and that's off limits. You can't misbehave. Well, I've tolerated it. You have to be respectful. You have to have fun. The only real cut and dried rule is in politics. That's where I step in and say, nope, we're not doing that. There's no win.
You signed the wonderful code of conduct. We outline it in very detail, and they're not many, but they are hard. And
we're pretty liberal. It's come, enjoy yourself, have fun, have new community. This is a place of community, of spiritual people. That's what we're doing.
Okay, I have a question. This is kind of random.
Go ahead.
So if you see a number over and over and over again, is there any significance to that from your?
When you see a number over and over and over again, such as an 11 or a 22 or whatever. Yeah, it's true. It's your angels, it's your unconscious talking to you. Most of those numbers have a spiritual significance. Yeah, you're trying to wake up on a spiritual level. So it depends on the number. And yes, their numerology is tied, and they're all tied. But astrology is the base. Astrology is the base. Any other astrology questions before we get off here?
thank you, everybody.
So, thank you for coming. Those of you who are coming to school, we look forward to that. We will be starting Thursday nights up after the 9th, 11th, or the 12th, or whatever that is. In October, we will be gone for 1 week because we're going to Turkey. I'm going to be speaking there at an international conference, and that's exciting. Besides, I haven't been to Istanbul. It's one city I haven't been to. So I'm excited to go. So that's what we're going to do. So thanks for coming, guys. Bye. Okay, we're all.